Okay, so good yontif. This Yud Shvat. We're going to finish Perek Lamed Beis. We finished it actually last week, but I'm just want to review the sikkum again of what the chapter was about, and then we're going to look at the iyunim of this. So this chapter is the last one of second section, and the title really is Bein Or L'Chayshech, difference between things that are basically the summary of everything we've learned so far about what we know about Mashiach and how he has to reveal himself, and the things that people make mistake about and really make Or into Chayshech, or really take the Chayshech and say it's Or when it's not really so. So let's look at the Sikkum and then we'll look at the Iyunim. Rivki, you want to start?
Is that Rivki Glasman?
No, it's you.
Oh, okay.
You have no kids around. You start, and then Rivki will be the next bit.
Okay. Bnei Yisrael him avdi Hashem shemachuse miskales aleim al-yidei malchus David. So Bnei Yisrael are servants of Hashem, whose kingship is revealed through Malchus David. Gulus Yisrael hi chazarasim l'matzav hatzivi. But Malchus David chazeres liyeshna k'ditzam mizach chazeres shlemas atar v'amitzvahs. The redemption of the Yidden is the return to the natural state. When Malchus of David returns to the way it was long ago, and as a result, there's the return of the complete fulfillment of Torah and mitzvah. So Gulasam Tia Baratzan Hashem Yisrael Yasu Tshuva. And they will be redeemed when we do teshuva. We will be redeemed when we do teshuva. Haraynu Lu'umi Hatzayir Al Hapach Mikol Zeh Uba Lahafred Bein Hazalas HaYehudis V'Ne'amanus L'Alkei Yisrael V'Teres Yisrael Tzir Geula She'en Ba Ela Geulas Haguf Ba'aretz V'Yis'ale Mitechna Pnimi Shal Geulas HaTorah V'Kan Lahavi Sagula B'Derech HaTava Al Yidei Koichi V'Aitzim Yadi. Sorry, Rabbi Seinen Nesiyin Ryan Zeh Shechiyos Sheker V'Chayshach Kapel Mechupel Shal Seif Zman Agalas. So the world idea is the opposite of this, and it's coming to separate between the Jewish identity, the faithful Jewish identity of Hashem and the Torah, and they're painting a geula, which is just a physical geula, and a physical return to the land, and they're completely like denying and missing out on the inner meaning of the geula of the Torah, and they're claiming that to bring the geula in a natural way, like that they can bring the geula in a natural way through their own strength and power. And our Rabbim see this as a complete falsehood and deep darkness that happens at the end of Galus. So it's like a false concept of geula. Gamim nisalim mitzuras hashiltan. V'nisyaches rak l'mitzias shehudim rabim yesh v'eretz Yisrael v'menucha v'aiskim v'torah v'mitzvahs hare ein ze ela hatzal prata shel yehudim rabim. V'lo yaschal shel geula shematchila dafka kasher yamin melech beis David. Even if we're going to we're not going to pay attention to the whole idea of the state, and we're just looking at the fact that there's many Yidden who are returning to Eretz Yisrael and living there peacefully and busy with Torah and mitzvahs, which we, by the way, see that the peaceful part is not really possible without the Melech and Beis David. This is, even if it would be peaceful, and even if there would be many Yidden there, fulfilling Torah and mitzvahs, it would only be a very specific, Hatzala, rescue for many Yidden, but it wouldn't actually be the beginning of the Geula, because the Geula has to start with the king from the house of David. It has to be for everybody and through a king. I have sure Leroy's Eitzar B'Tinim Talach by Maskila Geula Mitis the Fip Saktin and Rambam. Midas Melech Beis David at Kaifa Yisrael Leilach B'Derech HaTorah. So in opposition to this, we see by our Rabbim the process of the true Geula, according to the law of the Rambam, which is the rising of a king from the house of David who forces or convinces all the Yidden to go in the way of the Torah. הנני מזרע בייס דוד, והיקים צבא של חיילי בייס דוד, לחיזק האמונה בביאת משיח בן דוד, להמשך על ידי עד מהראיית הנסידרנו, שמעצימים את הצבא של חיילי בייס דוד, מגלים מנהיגוס כלל ישראל האמיתס. So this began with the Rebbe Rashav in his time, which said that I am from the Zerah of Beis David, and he established the army of soldiers of Beis David to strengthen the Emunah and the coming of Mashiach ben David. And this was continued by the Friedrich Rebbe, who's the leader of our generation, who established or strengthened the army of Chayal Beis David, and who's revealing like the true leadership of the Yidden.
Okay, so that was the main point, right, of the whole thing, that the Chayshach and the Aron, we spoke about that at length in the chapter. So now let's have a look at these Ionim, okay? Just a little bit more detail about the difference between how the Rebbe viewed the whole situation in Eretz Yisrael. So, Rivki, continue until we see Rivki Glassman. Are you there?
Yeah, Rivki's here.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Rivki Glassman, you want to read the Ionim? Oh, we don't hear you. You're on mute.
Why don't you read a little more?
Okay. Rebbe Mechabed Ashirim. Limraisa Mabor Besecha Perach Idas Snagdas Harifal Sharabi Senu Nisienu Lirayan Salem Mebusas Ashultan and Echach of Eretz Yisrael. Apple became Darkish Rabbi Hila Moed Bekisharim and Marisha Shultan, but it fell dark in Yanim Rabban Latavis Ben Yisrael. So even though, as we explained in the parak, that we are like sharply against this idea of the state of Eretz Yisrael, like the ideas of the way that they
really the idea of not so much as a state, but so much as considering the state as a Skalta de Geula, where that was what the Rebbe was very much opposed to, like calling this and saying, because we have a state, that's the beginning of Geula. That was something the Rebbe said, not only is not the beginning of Geula, but pushes away the Geula. So you could think then, okay, so like you said, we think that, okay, if we're against the present government, so to speak, the way it's being run in Eretz Yisrael, so, you know, there are many people who are against Eretz Yisrael, and they take it out in a very aggressive way. Okay, so what we're saying is, also, although we see very much, based on everything we've spoken about what Geula is and what it's not, and how dangerous it is to consider something that's not Geula and to say it is Geula, nevertheless, the Rebbe didn't cut ties with Eretz Yisrael, didn't say, okay, we're not going to talk to the government there, we're going to oppose it, we're going to do everything we can to topple it. That wasn't the case. Rather, it was working together with that government, because ultimately it's about the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael to make sure that everything is done. Okay. However, keep going.
ואומנם ישנם אחרים שגם נהגו באופן כזה והסבירו את הנגסם שהמצב של יישוב היהודי בארץ ישראל הוא כאדם שאמר עליו גזל לשטרס רכושי ובלייס ברירה הוא מנהל אימי מעשה ומתן וכדי להצל מידי כל מה שאפשר. So there are some people who also like acted in this way, and they explained it with the mashal of that the Yidden suddenly in Eretz Yisrael is like a person who takes something by force, is like taking someone else's property by force, and so we have no choice, but we need to like engage and compromise with them, and in order to save whatever we could save. And in this case, that the Jewish government is like stealing something, right, from the Malchus Beis David, or I don't know how they're wording it, and we have to save as much as we can. Do you want to explain more? You're on mute. 1 second.
Okay, so as we see it, we're saying, okay, so they're doing what they're not supposed to do. It's like they're thieves, right? They're taking what's not theirs, and and we have to engage with them to save whatever we can. Okay, so that's some people's view, right? They're doing the wrong thing. They have no right to be where they're doing. They have no right to be, for example, like we know the Rebbe said, but to be giving away land and to making all these compromises and with the safety of Eretz Yisrael. So some will say, yeah, they agree that this is the wrong thing, but we have to deal with them because we have to save whatever we can, right? It's that kind of idea. They're completely horrible. They're thieves, and we just have to do what we can to save it, to save what we can, right? But the Rebbe didn't look at it like that. The Rebbe put a more positive, although he said we have to be very careful not to call darkness light, yet the Rebbe didn't see it. He saw the whole idea in a slightly different way. What was that? Go ahead. But the
Rebbe explained this in a different way, in a more like inner and like positive way. That since with Hashgacha Pratis, these people were given the possibility to influence the behavior of thousands and thousands or millions, I don't know how much is your advice, tens of thousands of Yid in Eretz Yisrael. Certainly, there's a godly purpose to this. That these people should use their power of influence for good. In order to influence, in order to increase in Torah mitzvahs. So even though it seems that these people are opposed to like the holiness of Eretz and the preciousness of Am Yisrael, so even nevertheless, as long as they are in a position of influence, that means that Bashkacha Pratis Hashem is giving them power to influence the Yidden for good. And therefore, we need to put an effort to materialize the inner purpose of Hashem, of why Hashem is giving them this power, through influencing them, these people, to use their power for good. So that's why the Rebbe would talk to all these people in the government in order to, Hashem Bashkacha Pratis gave them power, they should use it at least, they should use it for their real purpose, which is to strengthen Torah.
That's right. So even though we said they're really opposed and a lot of them fight in whatever is holy, whatever is precious to Bnei Yisrael, as we said before, the idea of Torah mitzvah, they want to separate the identity of a Jew, and that's the key issue, from being a Am Yisrael who's dedicated to Hashem to just being the identity as a citizen of the state, and therefore that makes what makes you a Jew. Torah mitzvahs doesn't. So even though they take that stand, as we see a lot of very often how it happens in government, but from the Rebbe's point of view, it's not like they're Gazlanim. It's the fact that the Hashgacha Pratis, that they're in that position, they can do so much good in that position. Even though if we don't recognize that this is Ischalta de Geula, we recognize that there are Yidden in there who have power, and they should therefore use it for the good. Okay.
וכפי שאפשר לראות במכתב של הרבי למר יצחק בן צבי, שהיה בשעתי ממנהיגי השלטון בארץ ישראל, שאפשר ללמוד ממנו ולקחת עסק כבניין אב ליחס של הרבי לשלטון בארץ ישראל בכלל. So as we see in the letter of the Rebbe to President, right, Yitzchak ben Tzvi, who was the leader of the rule of Eretz Yisrael, that we can learn from here, like a source, and what was the Rebbe's like relationship with the presidents, with the government of Israel in general. So this is like yeah. Lashon Kadshe, in the Rebbe's words, Yesh Kamim L'Maimor Chazal, that some people are shocked by the Maimor Chazal, Rebbe Machaved Shirim, that Rebbe would honor the rich people. Asher call Ian Bailam Afilu Katan Shabakadim Bashnacha Pratis, so Pratin Yanam Kailam and Agayim the Rabim. So it could be understood through understanding one of the is like foundational points, ideas of the Shita of the Baal Shem Tov, which is that everything that happens, even the smallest detail of details, is Hashgacha Pratis, it's from Hashem. And especially how much more so general things that affect many people, that of course it's it's coming from like hashgacha pratis. As ashirim anashim sharshash hashgacha al yaina nitna biyadim hamtzaim the full rabbi savis by lamishal kadosh baruch hu. Rich people are people that Hashem has given the means to influence like great things, right, in Hashem's world. So certainly they have the power, the neshama power, which is appropriate, like which is enough for them to fulfill this purpose for which Hashem gave them the money. So Hashem trusted them with such a big like job, which is much greater than a regular average person, or how much more so than a poor person, right? Like when someone is rich, it shows Hashem has so much trust in them that they're going to use their money for good. Rabbeinu HaKadosh to kufase haisa b'kufas me'ever b'chai am ma'ever b'chai am Yisrael b'chayim shalavim lefi erech b'chayim shal gzeres for defense for alav haya the guy says kol hakachas b'chtei sheyamid am Yisrael b'nisayin zeh. So Rabbeinu HaKadosh in his time, in his era, it was very, 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 very difficult. It was far from peaceful. It was a time, a life of harsh decrees, and the Goyim were after them. So he had.
But it was like it was a passing time. Like he was that generation. His skufa was where they were moving, right? Where they went from a period of peace to this period of decrees and destruction.
I see. So he was like in the transition between a time of peace for the Yidden to a time of to a harsh time, and he had to gather all the kaichas so that the Yidden should be able to stand in this like stand strong in this nisayin, and to come out of it complete and vaccinated, safe. I love Haisa Misima Lisbain Bachal Echad Echad Lishtadel Linatas Kalav Sharis Ashabai. He had the task to meditate on each and every person, or to really focus, and to put an effort into saving everything that he could. Okay. Let's see. V'chein hidia regesh kaved klapi ilusha milmayla nitnu lahem shara sisera shebavate gamnus v'lahagin akol hakadosh b'Yisrael k'chol shara pulas Rabbeinu HaKadosh. So that's why he covered honor to those who were chosen by Hashem to have extra influence, extra possibilities, because certainly they are going to use it in order to protect everything that's holy to the Yidden. Just so this was part of the pu'ulis of Rabbeinu HaKadosh to support these rich people in fulfilling the mission that they were trusted with, which was to use their money to help the Yidden and help Yiddishkeit. Elamatim la'anhaga haklalis ba'olam asher l'chol echad mibnei Yisrael ninu b'cher chavshes. So the truth is that anyone that has money, it's because Hashem is trusting them with this money. But just like in everything in the world, Hashem gives each and every person free choice, and Hashem tests everyone to see if they truly love Hashem. Are they going to protect and guard his mitzvahs and listen to his voice? So this free choice that everyone has, of course, rich people have as well. Like it says in the Torah, right? Here I give you the choice. You have life and everything that's good, and you have the opposite. So in this way, a person has free choice. So each person needs to choose life, or has the choice to do the opposite. And then the Rebbe explains this introduction to the president. explaining like you have power because Hashem is trusting you with this power. And of course, you have free choice, but you're trusted to use it properly. So now the Rebbe is saying specifically addressing him. So it's obvious that if this is true with people who are rich with gold and silver, how much more so to people who are rich in their power of influence on their surroundings and their close to people who are close and far. So that's even a much greater trust that Hashem has. Rabbi Shamati al Kraidai Techunes Nafshe Midaisav al Yachse Lakadosh Am Yisrael Umisarasiim. So the Rabbi is saying that I heard so much about you, about your powers of your neshama and your midas, and on your relationships with everything that's holy to the Yidden and Yiddishkeit, our tradition.
Tradition, yeah. And
especially, and now in this period, you were given special potential, special possibilities, similar to what we spoke about above, to influence people near and far. Influence that has the power to bring results. What's this? Just those two words, what does it mean? Can hear you? It's could you open your
Yeah, sorry. Things that are far-reaching.
Okay.
He has the possibility, right, near and far, to have this kind of influence.
So specifically in protecting the true army of our people, which was army or tzivyaine, is that army or okay?
Like who we are, right? What we are as a yin.
Okay.
Well, who are we as yin? What are our true colors, really? Is that
it became by Kabbalah Satira, which is the second thread which goes through all eras of the existence of our nation and which unites all of our nation's history. Afki b'meshach zman zeh kama umas ba'alis terabes mufusachas b'yeser.
Alis, yeah.
So even during times when other nations were threatening us or harming us, and ruling over us with force. So logically, we should have not been able to exist, right? They could have destroyed us. But the Yidden fall and rise up because we're connected through our connection with the creator of the world, the one who runs the world. So the reason that the Jewish nation exists is because Hashem doesn't change and his children cannot be destroyed for that reason, just like Hashem can be destroyed. And if in many periods there was a need to gather all the power, all the strength for the Yidden in order to keep and protect the Torah and mitzvahs, which is the secret of the existence of the Yiddish nation, how much more so in our time, which is a time of Haras Eilam. I don't know. What does that mean? I thought it's like the birth of the world.
But it's like the birth pangs, isn't it?
Pangs, okay. And a time of when we're broken and being tested, man, dealing with the greatest nisyanis, the greatest test, Amino Yisrael of our Jewish nation. The Ilu Ashirim, Becheles Vasharias, Asher Matam Leza Gama Chuyusa, Gedelek Pi Kama. חייבסם חייב קדש וגם זכוסם לנצל ספשרס במילון להגן על הקדש לעם ישראל היא תרסנו הנצחס ומצווסה. So those who are rich in their power and in their possibilities, and they have a matching responsibility. So they're much more responsible than anyone else, and they have a great obligation, to a holy obligation and a great merit to be able to use all their potential for fully in order to protect everything that's holy to the Yidden, which is our eternal Torah and mitzvahs. Ubefrat palatin shamelech palatin shamelech hiya eretz asher eini asher v'lekecha ba merishas shana v'achar shana. And which more so to the, what is palatin, like the palace, or is it?
Palace. Yeah, the palace of the king,
which is Eretz Yisrael, the place where his eyes are there. Our eyes are upon the land from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. The Kavan who amas tafkid zed b'vade nitnu moroish kol anyanim and adrashim l'miloi tafkid b'miloi el sheratzin aberihu shiyazu b'chira v'charta v'chaim. So certainly you were given like from the start, like in advance, you were given all of the strength, everything that you need in order to fulfill your mission fully. But Hashem desires that there should be free choice and you should choose life. He wants you to have free choice, but he's telling you what he wants you to choose. I was listening to a podcast. It was like a daughter who went off and she's saying, Mom, you always said like that you want us to choose for ourselves, but you didn't really want. You wanted us to choose on our own, but to choose the path the truth path. So Hashem, he wants us to choose on our own, free choice, but he wants us to choose exactly what he wants us to choose. And this is exactly the outlook and the path of the Nasi of our generation, Shapal and Yanim Rabin, who accomplished many things, many which are were revealed and publicized, and from them there's also like a lot that we don't know that's hidden. So the Rebbe brought great benefit to the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael, in the Holy Land, in security and in chinuch and in parnasa, through the government of the Holy Land. With the concern and the responsibility, the true responsibility that a Nasi of Israel, a true Nasi, takes. So the Rebbe feels responsible for every single Yid, and he did so much that we know and that we don't know to help the Yid in Eretz Yisrael.
Right. So while we take that view that the state of Israel as it is not this Chalta Tegula, because it's not according to Torah Mitzvah, it's not run that way. But that doesn't mean that we don't support it and we don't support the people who are there and we don't work with them. Because we see the Rebbe's view is it's Hashgacha Pratis. And it's not the Geula, but it's Hashgacha Pratis that Yidden have power to cause change and to do things. And if they're Yidden, then they have Bechira Chavshis, and therefore we have to guide them and we have to work with them to make sure they choose the right thing and they do the right thing. We can't just say we're not engaging with them at all.
So it's after, like before the fact, it was the wrong thing to do, but after the fact, it's Hashgacha Pratis that Hashem allowed it to be this way, and we need to fulfill.
We need to work with them. We need to work with them to use their influence for the right way. It doesn't mean that we support the state, right? It doesn't mean we sing a tikva. It doesn't mean we fly the flag of the state, because those are things that are not al pi Torah. Those are things that are Dafka saying just the exact opposite. That all we need is Yidden. We just need a state. We don't need Yiddishkeit anymore. And that the Rebbe said, absolutely not. Right? We cannot bring the Gula. We cannot build a base of Mikdash without the Melech HaMashiach. No matter what we do, doesn't matter how many Yidden we fly into Eretz Yisrael, that's not going to bring the Gula, because Melech HaMashiach has to be the one who's going to build the Beis Hamikdash and be Makabes Nidchei Yisrael. And as long as that doesn't happen, anyone going to Eretz Yisrael, it's okay. So Yidden are going to Eretz Yisrael, which is a beautiful thing that Yidden should live in Eretz Yisrael. But that's not the key issue here is that that's not Tzchal to Gula. But the Yidden who are there, and if they have power, then certainly we need to work with them to ensure that they use that power for the right reason, for the right things, to improve anything we can on the area of Torah mitzvahs.
So when, at that time, when the Friedrich Rebbe came out with, no alter l'tshuva, alter l'geula, it means that the Friedrich Rebbe was sure that it could be the geula if we would have done tshuva.
Yeah, but it could have been the geula. In other words, if Mashiach was revealed.
You're saying so then everyone would have listened to the Friedrich Rebbe and
yeah,
and then it would have been
because the process has to be that way first. We have to have the Melchim Beis David. He has to be the first one to establish the Beis Hamikdash, and then we have the Makabes Nidchei Yisrael. So until that happens, and when we say the Rebbe said anyway in our generation that the whole idea of Al Tshuva, it's all happened already, because the Rebbe says even a minute, even remember we learned this, that even a shach, even a second of tshuva, a hero of tshuva is already. It completes that requirement, okay? But the point here is that there is a seder to how it has to happen. And while we're always the Rebbe talking about Asaf HaGeula, and on the time the Yemaisa Mashiach is this process of Mashiach revealing himself, and certainly we've seen the beginning of that. But the Geula HaMitzvah V'Hashlema that the Rebbe often referred to in those words, the Geula HaMitzvah V'Hashlema, is still in the future. We have not yet had it because we don't have our Beis Hamikdash. We cannot do all Torah mitzvahs yet. That is still missing, and that is what we're waiting for, right? And we need to have, once again, we're in the period of time where Moshe Rabbeinu is hidden from us. It's like he came to Bnei Yisrael, then he left, he went away, and we need him to come back and to finish the job. And that's where we're standing right now. Okay. So,
Rishki, do you want to continue?
that was, remember, this was all a letter of the Rebbe. So what happened at the end of that letter? Because it was a letter written to the president of Israel. Go ahead. What do we see? Hanasi Hamiti.
Hanasi Hamiti. ויש להוסיף ולסבונים בסיומי של עושה מכתב, בו הרב מתייחס לנקודה רגישה, שלא יפונה למקבל המכתב בתור נשיא, למרות שהוא מצידו בוודאי ציפה לכך. So we have to add and think about and examine the end of that letter. The Rebbe related to a sensitive point because he did not call the person he's writing to Nasi, even though the one receiving the letter was sure that he was certainly waiting for that. And the Rebbe explained to him that what the Rebbe is waiting for is the Gula Mitzvah Shlema and a real Nasi, which is Melech HaMashiach.
Not only that, but the Rebbe said his constant yearning, right? Well, it's not just now. The yearning that he's had constantly since he was a child, really, right? Was for this, we're waiting for the true Nasi. And Nasi means Melech HaMashiach.
And that's why I'm not using the description Nasi, the title Nasi, to someone else that is not the true Nasi, which we are waiting for. אפשר שפסקה הבאה להלן צריכה יישא לבוא בריש המכתב, והיא בקשת סליחה על שפתחתי מכתבי בלי להקדים תוארים וכולי. וגם בזה שמחתי על מה שתיארו לפני ממידי סב ותכונס נפשי אשר יבין לדעי. Maybe the next paragraph should have been at the beginning of the letter, and this is asking for forgiveness on that which I started the letter without all the proper titles. But I did this because I relied on the fact that I know the person who I'm writing to, and he will understand me. So this Nasi was obviously religious.
Yeah, we said he supported.
Uh-huh.
This was what?
Yeah, Ben Tzvi.
What did we say at the beginning? This is a very famous letter. Yitzchak by Ben Tzvi.
Right. Miyayim halchi lecheder v'oit koydel mazeh hischil esrakim b'dimyoni.
Isn't Yitzchak Ben Tzvi, isn't that Yitzchak Rabin? Is he the president?
Well, Yitzchak Rabin was not. Well, I guess Google will have to tell you because we don't know. But Yitzchak Rabin was not exactly from.
I don't know if he was really so great, just the Rebbe saw his greatness, his potential.
Yeah, but
he was saying that, but he was saying that he's traditional, that he had connections with the traditional, with traditional Yidden, that he had the power. I'll look it up. Just keep going. So what did the Rebbe say? I didn't use this title. Why?
Miyayim halchi lecheder v'oit koydel mazeh hischil esrakim b'dimyoni tzir gula asida gulas am Yisrael migalusay ha'achrein gula kazu b'oifen kazeh shal yada yu muvanim Yisurei Hagalos Hagzeres Vashmades. So from the time I went to Cheder, and even before that, I already imagined how would the future Geula look, the Geula of Am Yisrael from the last Galus. And the Geula will be in a way that through it, we will even understand the pain of Galus and the Gzeres and all the suffering that we went through. I just want
to point out, this wasn't Yitzchak Rabin at all. This was Yitzchak Ben Tzvi. That was his name, Yitzchak Ben Tzvi. He was the president of Israel. He passed away in 1963. Okay, so it's a very early letter.
Right.
His parents were Shim Shulevich, so he was known as Yitzchak Ben Tzvi Shim Shulevich because he was Ben, Shimshon kind of thing, right? Tzvi Shim Shulevich. So he was the Nasi between 1952 and 1963. Okay.
So we assume he was from a religious more family.
But they were not religious, but at least, but he was close, like he had connections. If you think about the earlier, a lot of people, they were, right. Their families had come from Europe. Yeah, they were from. So we're talking about Yitzchak Ben Tzvi. There's a very famous letter quite often in this context, right? So he wrote this letter talking to him about how, that he has his closeness to Yiddishkeit, to people who are to people who are from a traditional, and therefore he has the power to do things. But at the end, the Rebbe is saying, okay, so, but apologizing, they didn't use that title. He was the president of Israel.
Right.
In
So
Hebrew,
the Rebbe chose
to use the word Nasi.
That this person is a Keli to hear such words, because someone else would be insulted, really.
And that's why he said, you understand it. Right? And those times, they understand. So the fact that, they decided to call the president of Israel with that term Nasi, the Rebbe said, okay, but I understand you'll understand me, that I can't use that term for you, because for me, the word Nasi,
so כחלק מהסדר זה, וכחלק מגולה זו, יהיה נשיא זה מלך, לא נשיא שבט, אלא שאין על גביו, אלא השם אלוקיו. Hidayos Yud Aleph Seif Amar Aleph. Is that Gemara?
Yeah.
And as apart from this glowing future, and as a part of the Geula, there will be a Nasi who's going to be a Melech, and not Nasi of a Shevet, but somebody who there's no one will be on top of him, only Hashem himself. And everything will be with the full heart and full of understanding that we'll be able to say then, thank you Hashem for punishing me, meaning for the galus that was. כל כך קשה לי להשתמש בתואר זה בקשר עם בני ישראל בעץ אשר יעקב קטן הוא, ובני ישראל דבים, דחופים, זקופים, מטורפים ויסורים באים עליהם. And therefore, it is so hard for me to use this description in regards to Bnei Yisrael in a time when we are small and we are being pushed and grabbed at, attacked, and different Yisurim on us. Yecholti l'shtamesh b'mila zu min hasafu lachutz avokeven sheshamati asher ke amasai hu loiratiti lachazev benafshi v'itai haslicha. So I could have used the word anyway, even though I didn't mean it, but because I know that truth, and I did not want to lie, and that's why I ask, I beg apology. והנה כנשבוינן בדברים אלו אפשר למצוא בהם את כל הנקודות האמורות לעיל. So if we will examine these words, we will find in it all the points that we made earlier. לכל הרוי שהרבא רואה בשלטון הנכח בארץ ישראל חיקוי בלבד לשלטון האמיתי של מלכות בית דוד. אליו אנחנו מצפים. So first of all, the Rebbe sees this government, the present government in Eretz Yisrael, as only a copy of what real government will look like, the government of Malchus Beis David, which we are waiting for. ועד כדי כך ברור וחד משמעי ההבדל בין החיקוי לבין המוכר, עד שהרבי נמנע מלהשתמש בתואר נשיא לגבי השלטון הנוכחי, למרות המשבר הדיפלומטי שיכול להצטבר מכך. And it is so clear the difference between the imitation and the original that the Rebbe even holds back from using the word Nasi in regard to the present government, even though this is going against the diplomatic protocol that could come out of this.
Yeah, it could be like it could like mishbar diplomati could have caused a whole diplomatic
Mishbar
problem, break, broiga, who knows what come out of this. It wasn't politically correct, you could say,
right.
Yeah. However,
ולאידך גיסא, אויסי תואר נשיא שהרבי נמנע לסייס למר בן צבי, ומבאר שכל כך קשה לי להשתמש בתואר זה בזמן הזה, הוא התואר בוי הרבי מכתיר בכל עז עד מהרייץ נשיא דרנו ונשיא ישראל. And on the other hand, this same description Nasi that the Rebbe was holding back from giving to Mr. Ben Tzvi, and he explained it's so hard for me to use this description in these times, but this is the description that the Rebbe used every time he mentioned the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Nasi of our Dor and the Nasi of Yisrael. Umuvan atam lekach she'achin haRebbe harayatz hu Manig Yisrael Hamiti, v'hu HaMashiach Shebedar, Shalachein Hurai L'Tayr Nasi. And we understand the reason. It's because the Frierdiker Rebbe is the real Manig Yisrael, and he is the Mashiach Shebedar, and that's why he is deserving of the title Nasi. Never thought of that. Zeis va'oit, hamichtav harei boni al marmar chazal Rabbi Mechabed Ashirim. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, b'yoisei manig Yisrael amiti, hechesh achrayis amitis l'gara am Yisrael, nitos kol kochos hakayamim ba'am Yisrael b'chtei l'chazek es banenu binyanai. So this, even more, this letter is built on the Maimar Chazal that Rebbe used to honor rich people, that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, he was a real manhig, and he felt true responsibility for the future of Am Yisrael, and he used all the kaiches that were available in Am Yisrael in order to strengthen it. ומכאן רבי משלך זויס על תקופתנו, מבאר למקבל המכתב שהוא בעצם העושר עליו מדובר. And the Rebbe projects this on our generation, our times, and explains to the person who's receiving this letter that he is the rich person that the Gemara is talking about.
Right, so he didn't put him down, right? He explained they can't call him by that title because that's reserved for Mashiach. But it's not that he's degrading him, right? He's saying he's the usher, that we have to acknowledge that he has a very prominent position. He has tremendous koyach.
ומזבקש מאליו המשך השוואה, שגם אם הרבה לא הסכוון אליה, אך היא אוילה מלא לעיניהם זביינים בתוכן המכתב, שאם מר בן צבי הוא מהשירים שבדורנו, הרי הרבה שולח המכתב הוא בעצם ממלא מקום של רבי יהודה הנשיא בדורנו, המנהיג האמיתי, החש אחראי המיתוס לגורלה של כלל ישראל. ולכן הוא נוהג במנהגו של רבי יהודה בשייטה ומכבד את השירים ומאיר אויסו לנצוץ כחסיהם וטובת כל ישראל. Wow. So then we have to continue in this comparison, even if the Rebbe didn't exactly mean that, but anyone who's examining this letter can see that it is. That if Mr. Ben Tzvi is from the rich people of the generation, the Rebbe is sending him a letter because the Rebbe is the Mamali Makam of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi of our Dar, the true manhig that feels the full responsibility for the future of Klal Yisrael, and therefore he's doing exactly what Rabbi Yehuda Nasi did in his time, and he's giving kavod to the rich, and he's encouraging them to use their koichos for the good of Klal Yisrael. Very beautiful.
So maybe be zeicha on this huge spot to talk to see our nasi, and to see our nasi l'makim yasar tfachim.
Amen.
Some b'hui galenu and get us out of this gullus.
Amen. Thank you. Good. Hatzlacha, Sara, in all your preparations.